We do apologize for starting the news a little behind schedule. Thanks for joining TVC News. I am Veronica Danit-Boy. The Senate is now out of its closed-door session and has resumed normal activities with the Mace, the official symbol of authority, firmly in place. This comes after the incident of the forceful removal of the Mace by hoodlums who invaded the Senate chambers this morning. After the thugs left, the Senate went into an executive session, after which it announced it was starting plenary. The plenary is being presided over by Deputy Senate President Inibehe Effiong. Well, let's give you a background to today's disruption of the Senate this morning. It was an unusual scene on the floor of the Senate as hoodlums led by suspended Senator Inibehe Effiong stormed the upper legislative chamber during plenary and seized the Mace. Plenary has continued after the disruption with another Mace, and security has been tightened around the National Assembly area. Deputy Senate President Inibehe Effiong has charged the Inspector General of Police and the Director of the State Security Service to recover the Mace within 24 hours. National Assembly correspondent Sumner Sambu, who witnessed the incident, said the suspended senator seized the Mace with the help of 5 hoodlums who forced their way into the Assembly complex.
Trying to prevent this aid from entering into the Senate chamber, while another person accompanied Senator Effiong to his seat and struggled to ensure that he gets seated, and then the remaining 2 used that opportunity of that disruption to go straight to the Mace, where one of them took the Mace and then the other one served as a backup, while the other person also was milling around to ensure that this Mace was taken away.
In a swift reaction, the Senate has ascribed the action of suspended Senator Inibehe Effiong as a treasonable felony. A statement by the spokesperson of the Senate, Senator Aliusa B. Abdullahi, says the action is an attempt to overthrow an arm of government by snatching the Mace, which is its symbol of authority. Abdullahi urged all security agencies to stand on the side of due process and immediately mobilize their personnel to retrieve the Mace and apprehend the mastermind and perpetrators of the act. The Senate is now in an executive session, and an updated statement will be released after the session. Now, to get a legal perspective on today's development at the Senate, a lawyer, Inibehe Effiong, joins us now from the National Assembly. Thank you for joining us. How would you evaluate, or what's your reaction to the suspended senator's action this morning at the Senate?
It is unfortunate that we have witnessed this kind of attack on the institution of the Senate. As a person, I do not agree with the decision of the Senate to suspend Senator Effiong for expressing what is ordinarily his opinion on a decision taken by the Senate. I believe that as a senator of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, he has the right to freedom of expression under Section 39 of the Constitution. He has the right to freedom of association under Section 40 of the Constitution. So I do not think he has violated any law by disagreeing with the leadership of the Senate on a bill that seeks to change the order of election. It is within his right to do so. However, it is also wrong for the senator to invade the premises of the National Assembly, not just the premises, but the plenary, to disrupt proceedings by taking away the Mace, which is a symbol of legislative power. So, whichever way you are looking at it, while we condemn the decision of the Senate to suspend someone that is duly elected by his constituents, I totally condemn the action of the senator in invading the institution of the Senate. We have to be careful to distinguish the institution of the Senate from the leadership and the personalities in the Senate. It would have been better for him to allow the due process of law to run its course. Having approached the courts to seek redress, he should have allowed the courts to determine the constitutionality of his suspension, rather than embarking on self-help. So I believe that this is not good for our democracy, but of course, it also raises the point. How possible was this? Given the strict security in the National Assembly, how did the senator and his supporters get access into the chambers to disrupt the proceedings on challenge? It shows that nowhere is safe in this country. So that is my reaction to what has happened today. It is a sad day for democracy, and I hope this issue will be addressed very critically.
Speaking about democracy,
because under the Legislative House's Powers and Privileges Act.
Go ahead, just land, and then I'll ask my question. All right, now
yes, I am making the point that under the Legislative Houses and Privileges Act, it is illegal, it is a criminal offense for anyone to disrupt the proceedings of the National Assembly or of the Senate. It's a criminal offense for this kind of action to be committed.
All right,
so I hope this will be addressed within the ambit of the law.
What is the punishment for this kind of offense? And speaking about democracy, what does this say of our democracy that we are trying to entrench so far?
Well, on the issue of punishment, by virtue of the law that I have cited, the Legislative Houses and Privileges Act, it criminalizes disruption of legislative proceedings. It is a felony, it's a very serious crime, for which an offender is liable to a term of imprisonment, as may be determined by the court. However, we have to note that we have to also be careful in suspending people for merely expressing their opinion. It is against the spirit of democracy. The fact that someone is a member of the Senate or a member of the National Assembly should not operate as a bar to the exercise of the constitutional right to freedom of expression. So I am urging the leadership of the National Assembly and the Senate in particular to be more careful in exercising its power to punish members of the National Assembly. Members of the National Assembly should be able to disagree with the leadership, should be able to disagree with even the House itself, because that is the only sense of the institution of the Senate. It is about legislative engagement.
All right,
now I'm a member of the Senate,
I have to cut in now quickly. I'd like you to address the question of
to look at this.
What does this mean, or how does this impact Nigeria's democracy, this action by the suspended senator?
I have to say straight away that the action of the senator is totally condemnable. If we condone this kind of action, it means some people can be aggrieved tomorrow and they will walk into the presidential villa and take away the president or disrupt the presidential villa. It means that tomorrow someone can disagree with the decision of a judge and will mobilize people into the courts to attack a judge. So that is why I am saying that we have to protect the institution of the National Assembly, because that is the epitome of our democracy. That is the face of our democracy. If the National Assembly is not protected because we disagree with what they are doing, it is going to affect all of us. So this kind of action has to be condemned strictly. It should not be excused for any reason whatsoever. The senator has gone to court. He should have allowed the court to determine the constitutionality of his suspension, rather than leading his supporters to disrupt the proceedings of the Senate.
All right, now, Inibehe, quickly, I need to ask you this question.
Democracy has a procedure. Democracy is not anarchy.
Right now, the Senate is leading or going ahead with its proceedings with a new Mace. How legitimate is that?
No, it is very, very legal. It's lawful. What the law says, specifically the Legislative Houses and Powers and Privileges Act, and of course the Senate Standing Orders of 2015, it says that the Senate cannot hold any proceedings in the absence of the Mace. There is no Mace that has statutory recognition. Mace is something that can be done anywhere. The Senate is within its powers to substitute and bring in a new Mace and continue with the proceedings. The Mace that was taken away does not enjoy any special recognition under the law. The Senate has the right to have more than one Mace. So for me, it is not an issue that a new mace was brought for the proceedings to continue. On the other hand, I believe that what the Senate did is right, because it clearly shows that this is an institution. If the Senate has stopped their proceedings today, it would have meant that the institution has been defeated, and I would not support that. The institution has to be respected. While we disagree with the decision of the institution, we should not destroy the institution, because Saraki is the Senate president today, but Saraki is not the Senate. So we have to make that distinction. I believe the Senate has the right, the Senate has the legitimacy to bring in a new mace and continue with the proceedings of the day.
All right, security agencies have been admonished to stand on the side of due process and immediately mobilize their personnel to retrieve the mace that was forcefully taken away. How easy is that going to be? We learned there is a stop-and-search operation going on in Abuja at this time.
Well, I am presently within the premises of the National Assembly over an official engagement that I have with one of the committees of the House of Representatives. I have also observed security movements. But you see, this point has to be made. How was this possible for this to happen in the first place? That is the question that the security agencies attached to the National Assembly should resolve, while they also take steps to retrieve the mace. Someone has to account for this. There has to be explanation. There has to be responsibility. Someone should be able to explain why this was possible. That these people passed through the gate of the National Assembly, they passed through the gate of the Senate, they gained entrance into the premises of the Senate while proceedings was ongoing. And they even successfully made away with the mace. We have security men all over the premises. We have the military, we have the police, we even have the sergeant at arms and those who work with him. How come that they were not stopped? Does it mean that security was compromised? This is why this matter has to be investigated diligently. And people have to be punished for this. Because if this thing is not addressed, if what has happened today is not addressed, it will become a dangerous precedent for democracy. Because tomorrow, people who can even be emboldened to go into the villa and disrupt the working of the president, just because they disagree with the decision of the president. So I believe that it is proper for serious investigation to be carried out, and for people who were negligent in this kind of incident occurring to be seriously penalized. And it is also important for the security architecture in the National Assembly to be immediately overhauled to forestall a future occurrence of this kind of tragic incident.
Inibehe Effiong, a lawyer, thank you for your time on TVC News. News just in say the police have arrested suspended Senator Inibehe Effiong for disruption of plenary. We'll bring you updates as in our subsequent bulletin. We'll take a break now and return with more stories. Stay with us.